All right, welcome back to another video. Today we've got this nice example of a Performa 630 CD. I know it's a Performa 630 CD because I have this part of it, which might be an indication that today we'll be looking at some cosmetic damage, perhaps more than cosmetic, but let's see if we can't get this thing at least looking a little bit better. You can see that at some point this machine suffered what a lot of these old Macs are suffering from, and that's brittle plastic syndrome. So we'll see what we can do to get this thing at least kind of reassembled back together. As you can see, I've got it running here with the case completely uninstalled. Now, what a lot of people do is use acetone to try to weld these plastic pieces back together. This machine's never going to look good again, but at least we can try to restore some of its former glory with this acetone nail polish remover that I have here. So let me adjust some things and I'll be right back with you. All right, so I've got the pieces here, and there are quite a lot of small little chunks. So I don't think we're gonna get this thing looking super great. And the plastic is so brittle on this machine that even the hard drive holder caddy is quite damaged. I do have a spare of these, so I'm not gonna worry too much about this one, but we'll see what we can do here. So I haven't personally ever tried to do plastic repair like this, but I've watched videos, and there's a bunch of good ones out there talking about it. So we'll just give it our best effort and see what we can do. So this is the back plate, the I/O panel cover, I guess. Now it's supposed to have tabs that go up here where you put it in and clip it on, and these little bump outs are the screws go underneath. The tabs nowhere to be found, so not sure what we're going to do here. Maybe just a little bit of tape to hold that on, but that's not something we can probably repair with what I have here. Side panels mostly in good shape. The edges that connect with the front panel will have seen better days, but we don't need to really worry too much about that. This one is quite damaged, as you can see here, but not a problem. I think the main thing we'll be looking at is the front panel here. So as you can see, there is some significant damage here that's just not something we're going to be able to fix without using some sort of plastic fill. But ideally we can weld this back together with some acetone to at least keep it from getting worse. So let me go ahead and open up my acetone here. And I just bought generic nail polish remover from Walgreens. It does contain, it's not pure acetone, it contains like fragrance and some other things, but it's not the extra strength, nourishing nail polish remover that they also sell there. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply a little bit here, see if we can't get this to at least fuse together a little better. And I do immediately feel it starting to melt, which is good. So I think what we want to do is try to get in between the cracks here and see if we can get this melted plastic to adhere to itself. I'll just get a good healthy dose in there and then give it a squeeze. Definitely don't want to squeeze it too hard because, again, this plastic is super brittle, but do need to apply some pressure to get that plastic to bond with itself. All right, and without pulling too hard, I can see the bond is already starting to form here, so that's good. So I'm going to just kind of wipe some onto the crack, see if we can't get that plastic to melt to itself as well. I'm going to be pretty generous with it, but definitely don't want to overdo it because it is actually melting the plastic. Now acetone does evaporate fairly quickly, so we don't have to clean it off, wipe it off, or anything like that, but do want to make sure that we get good bond before we release the pressure. All right, that's looking pretty good there. If I gently try to pull it apart, I can see it moving a little bit, but I think we're making good progress here. All right, and then next I'm going to focus on this crack up here. This looks like it's pretty easy to reach. See if we can't get some acetone carefully in there. because again, the front of the case here is something we don't want to damage further. Not that it really matters a whole lot based on how damaged this is, but just to try to keep it from looking like a complete train wreck. I'll apply some pressure there, and again, not too much. There's also another little tiny crack over here by the IR port, which I have here. It's supposed to fit into here. So we'll see if we can't get these to adhere a little better. You know, in terms of this, I guess you could fill it with some sort of putty and sand it and try to paint it, but you know, this machine's never, like I mentioned, this machine's never going to look perfect again. So just doing our best effort here. I don't think I even have the volume buttons for this machine. I mean, the buttons can still be pushed with like a pen or something once they're in there, but as far as the actual buttons themselves, I'm sure they're long gone. But no matter, the machine works, and that's, I guess, what's most important. All right, so it seems like it's making good progress. I'm going to now hit the inside of that crack, see if I can't get some melting going on here to give it a little bit more structure. And I will do this crack by the IR port as well. Let's see if we can't get that to get some structure as well. Overall, I think it's looking promising. I'm not sure if you can see on camera, but you can definitely see where I put the acetone that has definitely melted the plastic a little bit. So again, we don't want to do this in areas that are visible, because that will show through. So, you know, as an example, if I did it in the front, there would be a streak here as opposed to just a crack that ideally will be sealed soon. Same here. All right, and we'll let that cure a little bit while I try to piece together some more of this. And this one's easy. This obviously goes right here, completing the badge. I don't have the Apple logo anymore. Didn't come with this machine. Oh, and the history on this machine, this was a freebie on one of the vintage Macintosh groups on Facebook. There was a gentleman in Texas who was in possession of this machine, already damaged, and he was just offering it up for free. All I had to do was pay shipping, so that was super nice. You know, you're always worried that these things will end up in the trash because, you know, these machines aren't super valuable anyway. The Performa 630s, and one in this kind of cosmetic shape, going to be really hard to find anybody who wants to give it a good loving home, but that's the kind of person I am. I love these old Macs, and it's going to be welcome here. Regardless of how this restoration goes, it's going to be welcome here. So we'll try our best to make it look pretty, but if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, and at least it can still get some use. All right, so I'm going to let that sort of cure and harden a little bit. And you can see, unfortunately, like right where the word Macintosh is, there's a chunk missing, so not much we can do about that. I mean, maybe it's one of these little pieces flying around here. Who knows? There's certainly lots of little chunks of plastic I have. All right, then I think this would go here next. We need to let this firm up a little more first. So as with the other repairs, I'm going to just dab a little bit of acetone here on the crack itself. See if I can't get that to melt just a little bit better. And they're coming off here, so that's okay. So I think what I'll do at this point is I'll just give it some time to harden up, and I'll be back with you in a little bit. All right, so it's been a few hours, and it definitely worked, but it didn't work great. So what I did notice is that it actually did delaminate the Performa 600 CD tag here a little bit. So I think I'm going to give it a little more, and I might just reinforce it with some super glue baking soda slurry, I believe is what it's called. So I'm going to go make some of that up and see if we can't strengthen these bonds just a little bit. baking soda. What I don't have is a good thing to mix them in. Just use a piece of paper or something. The old cup is great. I don't have any old cups though. All right, so I'll take a little bit of my baking soda, pour that on here. I don't know how much to use. Well, just wing it. Cut the end off a Q-tip so I have a stir stick. And we'll take some super glue and just kind of mix it all together. I think first I'm going to break up these chunks. Now this looks mildly inappropriate. You have to trust me though when I tell you that we're on the up and up here. I'll squirt some super glue in there. Interesting how it kind of just beads on top. It doesn't really mix in. I'll try not to get it everywhere, but there's so much I can do. Supposedly this stuff works really well. I'm not sure what the chemical properties are here, but I'm willing to give it a try. I'm told that it basically bonds instantly, and yep, it sure did. I might need to actually mix this up in a container. Very interesting. Alright. What's the best way to do this, I wonder? I wonder if I should put the baking soda right on the ABS plastic and then mix the glue on top of that. Maybe give that a little bit of a try. Sprinkle some in here and then put a couple drops of super glue in and then quickly stir it up. Use a little bit more. I just kind of made it chunky. It didn't really adhere to the ABS plastic. But it is solidly adhered, so I guess that worked. Now let's take some canned air and blow the extra off if that's a possibility. Yeah, okay. Well, I gotta say, it worked much better than I had thought it would. Yeah, and that super glue dries basically instantly. That's pretty cool. Alright, well, I got that one all set, I guess. I think I'll mix up a little bit more here. And put a couple drops on this, just to strengthen up this connection. Yeah, I'm really kind of interested what the chemical reaction is here. I might look that up later to figure out why baking soda dries super glue so quickly. It really does. It really works. I'll blow that off. Yeah, not the prettiest, but that is super adhered. That's not going anywhere. Yeah, it's definitely a good solid connection. All right, well, cool. Then I guess that will be the approach I use. So nail polish remover kind of worked. Might have had better luck had I used pure acetone. I'm guessing that might be the problem, but Walgreens does not sell pure acetone, unfortunately. And I didn't feel like waiting for delivery from Amazon or wherever, so here we are. All right, well, let's see if we can fit this next piece on where this came from. Looks like this piece was here originally. And this will connect both sides together. So there's a few spots where this one needs to go. It might be a little tricky to get it all lined up and then try to connect all the pieces. So I might just start on this side here. All right. So I'll put down some baking soda here. I'll make myself another mixing stick. And we'll hit it with some super glue. Oh, it's right on my finger. Well, great. Looks like I'm gluing myself to this Mac. No worries. There's worse things to be glued to. Hopefully I can get it reseated before it hardens. There we go. It didn't quite work. My finger is coated in super glue though. That's certainly not the first time that's happened. I probably shouldn't be trusted with glue, to be completely honest. No, I think what you really want to try to do is get this in between the pieces that are broken, as opposed to just like a surface layer, which is what I'm doing. But I think, you know, these cracks are so tight that I'm really just trying to kind of more like a band-aid approach to it, I guess, as opposed to, you know, really connecting them together. I think we'll be fine, because it seems like this stuff is really just basically welding them together. I mean, not welding in the sense that the acetone would have been doing it, but welding in the sense that, yeah, those aren't coming apart. Very interesting. All right, then we've got another crack here. So we'll do the same trick here. Baking soda, and then super glue. Just a drop or two. And more baking soda. And even more baking soda. Yeah, I'm not sure how baking soda acts as a catalyst for this super glue reaction, but it seems to work pretty well. Well, in this case, it looks like it all kind of just stuck to my stir stick and flaked off. That's okay. We got more glue to put on. And a little more baking soda. So the scraping, I'm just going to kind of pat, which I think will prevent it from just sliding right off. There we go. I'll blow that off. Yep. That is a nice and solid connection. All right, and then we've got just one more to do here. Well, at least for this part. So another crack right here. grab some baking soda. And we'll hit it with the glue. Just a couple of drops, I think will do it. And just kind of stir it around. I'm going to be careful not to wipe it all off this time. More of a patting motion than a stirring motion, I guess. A little more baking soda. Yeah, and it basically dries instantly. Alright, well there we go. That is on there very solidly. That's not going anywhere. Alright, and then I think we have this piece up here. And it really almost looks like this machine was dropped on this corner. But these things are so fragile and brittle that, you know, somebody could have looked at it wrong and it would have fallen apart like it did here. So we can see if we can fit this piece in. And unfortunately, there's a lot of missing parts for this poor faceplate. You know, I did basically assemble this whole thing before I started gluing, and I found that I could add this part after I had the other ones together, so it seems maybe that is not exactly the case anymore. I'm sure I can weasel it in there somehow, though. Just give me a second to figure out how to do that. And you know, certainly don't want to force it because, again, this plastic is super brittle. You don't want to cause any more damage to it if at all possible. Alright, well I feel like I definitely should have done this piece first before doing the edge piece. But that's okay, I think we can probably manage it. So it's just right here where I can't get it under. So close. Oops. Use a razor blade and maybe just try to hopefully not damage anything, but kind of just force it down. I don't think that's going to work either. We'll have better luck with that side. And then the plus side, acetone also, I believe, removes super glue, so if we need to undo this, that might be an option for us. Just about got her. All right. So now for the same steps, I hit it with some baking soda. And then some glue. What's interesting is that the glue kind of has a tendency to run off the baking soda. Just kind of pat it in there with the Q-tip end. Make that much more effective. And of course, keep going here. You know, maybe it's better to do the glue first so you can get it where you want it and then hit it with the baking soda. I'm not sure yet. But this technique seems to be working pretty okay. I mean, I was really thinking that the acetone was going to be the way to go. But no, this seems like it's much better. I mean, certainly acetone would be a much prettier repair from the outside, but since we're on the inside of this case and there's plenty of room for a couple of raised sections, I think this is going to be just fine. Also, I'm going to have to vacuum down here tomorrow. This is turned into quite an interesting mess I've made. Alright, let's pat that last bit down. Alright, we'll clean this off. Yeah, and the baking soda that doesn't catalyze the glue just blows right off. So, seems pretty easy. So I think that's kind of going to be it for the front. I don't have any more pieces. I do have small shards of plastic, like this one. I think this is from the drive caddy. Yep, definitely is. But that's kind of it. I did want to put. Yeah, I've been talking about small chunks of plastic. There's just little bits all over. I think if we were going for a full restore with, like, you know, filling in the cracks with some kind of putty and sanding and painting, maybe I'd want to use these little chunks if I could figure out where they came from. I think obviously on the CD bay here, there's a piece missing. Probably some of these, but like I said, this machine's never going to look brand new again, so I think this isn't too bad. I mean, in terms of a machine, it's very ugly, but in terms of this machine, giving it some new life, definitely better than the alternative. All right. So I have the top panel as well. The back panel we talked about, and of course I got the side panels. So I did want to reaffix the IR window here. So that just kind of goes in there like that. So I think using the super glue with the baking soda catalyst is going to be too difficult. So I'm just going to hit it with regular super glue. Not like this is structural or anything. So I think just popping that in there and letting it stay there till it dries should be just fine. I'll clean that off a little. Alright. And then there's the matter of this, the metal shield that goes over the floppies and CD drive. Not only is it rusty, it's popped off every single plastic rivet that was here. So I think those I will just super glue as well and hit with some baking soda, because that should make a nice, good seal. There's a whole bunch of them. Some of them still have the rivets on the top. Some of them don't, but we don't need it to be perfect. So you can just hit the ones where the little plastic rivet's gone. Turns out is most of them. One, two, three, four, five. Five. The rivet's gone, and 1, 2, 3, 4. It is not, so I guess that technically is most of them. And again, the volume buttons, I don't have those. If I did, maybe I could make them work again, but simply just did not receive them with this machine, which is not a problem, because the buttons are here and still will be accessible if somebody was so inclined to push them. But that's all good. Alright, so we'll set the top aside and let some of this glue dry. And let's look next at sides. So the sides are supposed to have tabs where they slide onto the machine, and it kind of keeps them there. These, move this stuff out of the way here, these are the hooks where the tabs would be. Clearly all the tabs have been broken off. So we need to try to figure out what to do in place of those tabs. I think this is the other one. Let's see, is this the right one? It should be lined up. No, this is the front, so this is the right one. So yes, the tab would normally be here. There's two pieces of tabs left, so I can kind of get a rough idea for where it's supposed to be. So it's supposed to be like that. But of course, nothing's holding it on. So you slide it in, or put it in, slide it back, and normally there would be a clip to hold it, but those are long gone. So I'm kind of thinking about maybe just gluing this to the machine. Maybe not. I don't know. I'll have to give that some thought, how to hold that on there. And then of course this one, same story. Tabs are gone. There's a couple left to guide me on where it's supposed to go. So that's where it would normally sit. And then the top would go on and the front would go on. So with the front, normally it's held on with plastic clips, and they're of course gone. So to try to figure out how to hold that on is another challenge as well. So as you can see, I can be pretty rough with this, and it's holding together pretty nicely. So that's good. So there are some clips left here for the top, but I think for the front, there is really nothing that would hold it on. You know, it's just kind of just supposed to clip on like that. And there's some guides, pegs down here, but they don't obviously exist any longer, at least not in the collection of things I have. So, kind of thinking about gluing these things together. It would make the machine much less serviceable in the future, though. So let's see how the top plays into this. The top slides on like that, and then it's in pretty good shape. I mean, other than the yellowing, it's not super cracked. It does have its imperfections. This would clip on like this normally. So, I mean, we could certainly do some gluing here, but I'll have to think about how I want to handle that. I'm not sure that gluing is the best idea, especially if we wanted to, you know, eventually replace this hard drive with a blue SCSI or something similar. So, all right, I think I'll stew on that for a while, and then I'll come back after I've decided what I want to do. All right, well, as you can see, I've come up with a bit of a solution here. It's not perfect because they're still loose at the bottom, but maybe I can do some tape down there after I flip it over. I'll take a look. But I just use gaffer's tape. I think gaff tape would be the ideal choice because it doesn't leave behind residue, and it also provides friction on the top. So it should be a pretty tight fit, but I think I should be ready to try to put the top on. You know, the top is not terrible shape, but I'll give it a go here. I'll line up that and give it a slide back. There we go. Perfect fit. So yeah, I think that's going to be the solution for the top and the top of the sides. But next I got to flip it over and see if I can figure out how to get the bottoms to stay just a little bit closer. The front might help with that. It also might not. I'll have to just try it and see. Oh, I do need to blow off the extra. I think some of those are holding. A couple of them. It's okay. Enough of it will be there. So remember, this kind of fits here. And there's definitely a gap just because of the nature of this old plastic. I think it needs to be a little bit more on, but I'm not sure that it's going to be able to structurally do that. But that seems to be more or less where it needs to be. Alright, so we're making good progress. I did find one more piece of plastic, I think, that goes in the corner here. It's a little ugly, but I think that piece is just too small to put back on. So I think that's just going to have to be how it is. But again, this isn't staying on super well by itself just because of, you know, all the missing plastic that's supposed to be holding it on. So let me think this one over and I'll get back to you soon. I wouldn't say I ran out of ideas, but I thought through some things and I thought maybe that this might be the best idea. So as you can see, the tabs here that normally hold the front plate on are missing and broken. And then of course with the sides I couldn't really get a way to get those on either, so I just used more gaff tape. This one definitely won't be visible from the front, from the bottom, from the sides, but you see I do have a little bit of overhang here, but I don't think it's too bad. Maybe if I come across some different color gaff tape that's not bright green, that might help a little bit with things. This tape is actually from a roller derby track in Philadelphia. It was the end of a roll and needed to wrap up some cords, and I was traveling back and they told me just to take the tape with me because there wasn't much left. So I've just been hanging on to it. But anyway, I think that'll work. Well, let's flip it over. Of course, I do want to be gentle with it. I'm pretty confident in all my work. But yeah, you can see a little bit of green there. Not too bad. And the front would be better if it was a little more tight. You know, the CD eject button, you kind of got to really press to get in there just because of the looseness in the front. But it's certainly not going to fall off. It's not going anywhere. So yeah, let's power it back up. Make sure everything's still working. Plug her in. And give it some juice. And I do still have the back panel that I need to figure out how to do. Again, there's supposed to be tabs here and here. Just simply gone. I have this sneaking suspicion that this is another gaff tape repair coming. But let's make sure it still works before I worry about this piece here. So we've got gray screen coming up, no problem. Everything's looking good, and seems to be stuck on the hard drive. So the gentleman that I did get this from said the hard drive only worked when it was upside down. You know, pull it out and then flip it this way, and that seems to be spot on. I don't seem to see any sort of life out of it here. So I misspoke earlier. I said I might consider putting a blue SCSI in here. Well, this is an IDE machine, so that wouldn't work. But I do have some IDE solutions around here that I could use. I've got this ID to SDE card adapter I could use. I've got, I think, a few other types of that lying around. And of course, it does support external SCSI, so I could boot off of an external SCSI device on the back, but that's not ideal. So let me undo some of my handiwork here, get the drive out, and see if I can get it replaced and get a new Mac OS installing. So I'll be back with you soon. Alright, so the last thing is the back panel. So this typically would go on here, and there would be a tab here and a tab here, and those just clip in. Of course, in this case, tabs are completely gone. Also, I received this machine without the screws to hold the motherboard in place. Luckily, I have a tub of screws here, and I found a couple that will fit. So let's get those installed. As you can kind of see, the back ports here are a little bit rusty. You know, I almost wonder if that's why the audio is not coming out the internal speaker. If for some reason it thinks there's a device plugged into the audio jack, it will route audio that way. So might be the issue, might not, don't know. We'll have to get back to that and double check that in a future video. Not super concerned at the moment about that though. All right, so the screws on. Let's see how this fits. Yep, looks like it's good. Obviously, it's not going to stay on though without the clips. So it's the back of the machine. I have green tape. I can't say I'm super excited about this combination, but I think that's about the best we're going to be able to do here. So I'm just going to hit it with a piece of gaffer's tape here, and another one kind of wrapping around underneath. Just lift it up. This looks like as good a spot as any. I could probably tape it over this whole thing here, because that will provide support as well. All right, there we go. Maybe I will do just one more piece here to make sure we don't lose it on this side. And again, it's the back. I don't have the best color tape, but it is what it is. So I think that is it. So the next thing I want to do is just get it all set up and give it a quick test. So let me adjust some things and I'll get right back with you. All right, so trying a new camera angle here. So we've got everything set up. We've got a more appropriate Apple Performa display. So let's fire it up and take a look at it. And I did remove the battery, so yeah, there's no PRAM battery at this point. But yeah, up and running. So I popped in a Casino Games CD-ROM here. Let's just take a look at that. Make sure the CD-ROM is working good. I installed Mac OS off the CD, so I do know it works. But just play a quick game on it. All right.
Place all bet.
All right. I was going through standard mode. I think I will double down.
Dealer bus.
Oh, there we go. Good stuff. Always double down on 13. Wait, no, it's 11. Anyway, I think that's going to be the end of this video. So let's talk about a recap. Obviously, this machine was severely damaged with the brittle plastic problem that affects so many Macs of this vintage. I certainly had never done anything like this before. I've watched some other people's videos and things. I think, next time I would try to use pure acetone first, as opposed to the nail polish remover that I did use. It definitely did work. Some of these seams here are held together only with the acetone. But I think, overall wasn't as happy with that as I thought I was going to be. And again, it could be just because I used nail polish remover and not, pure acetone. The super glue baking soda trick worked fantastically well. I was surprised at just how well that holds things together. So, overall this machine doesn't look, as good as I thought it might have looked when I was done. I obviously knew it was missing pieces because I jigsaw puzzled them together before I started anything. But, overall there's still some visible seams here. I think these are things that I potentially could fill with epoxy, but I'm not going to, at least not at this juncture. The machine is functional. Everything seems to be working with the exception of built-in sound, but I've got these nice Apple design speakers here, so that's good enough for that. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. I mean, it looks a little worse for the wear, but overall, it's a good solid machine. It's got the 68 LCO40 chip in it, so plenty of horsepower here. So yeah, I think that's going to do it. Thanks again for joining on this little experiment of how to repair brittle Apple plastics, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.